You know, it really doesn't take a lot to make a fighting game feel like there's a ton of people to play online. It doesn't. Even with a few hundred, that's a relatively active fighting game. If your fighting game had, what's it called? Like even 500 people. It might take you a little while to find a match, but you'll find matches. You know, there will be people there. DNF Duel's current players, I'd imagine it's like less than 500. DNF Duel. It went the way of every single anime game ever, chat. Every single anime fighting game that isn't based on a Dragon Ball or One Piece or something like that, right? Where eventually it's just going to dwindle down to a point where there's a very limited amount of people. And DNF is already a property that's not super big outside of, you know, that's not super big outside of like certain regions in Asia. DNF was never really big in Japan. DFO in the West, for example, was always like far behind, right? Where they were always trying to catch up to the Korean client, and I don't even know where the hell they're at right now. In this little video that a lot of people got angry at me about, but all the signs, like there was, and I love DNF Duel, just to throw that out. I love DNF Duel. I think it's a fighting game that's worth playing, and I really enjoy it, right? And I actually think it's probably one of my favorite 1v1 fighting games that I've played in a while. I really like it. It's like anime MKX to me. I'm slightly worried about DNF Duel 3 months ago. A couple months before it came out. And I was slightly worried about it because of its lower price tag and how it was an outlier of the fact that the game is going to be much less content than you might be hoping. That the game was essentially going to be online for the most part, and that was about it. What's the solution to population problems with fighting games? You need to replace the players that leave with new players. Because everyone's going to leave a game. Everyone's going to leave a multiplayer game, right? People are going to drop out. It's just the way it is. And people are going to lose interest in fucking fighting games as well, right? That just happens in general. You're going to lose a lot of people that start playing, and they're just going to move to other things or they don't like it, and some people will stick with it. Sure. So how the hell do you do that, right? In a fighting game situation, keep your concurrent numbers relatively high while also engaging your audience. Well, you have to, number one, release content, right? You have to constantly release updates of not characters or customizations or things to keep people coming back, right? You essentially have to get them to come back in some way. That or the barrier to entry, right? Because there's also the issue, not everyone's going to want to spend money on this, right? Not everybody is going to want to drop 50 bucks, 60 bucks on a fighting game to check it out. I will say this with an absolute message that I have been reading this from an audience of players that play fighting games for years and years and years. People are conditioned to the point now. Everybody knows that when a fighting game comes out, you are playing the worst version of that game. I'm not even shitting you, chat. It is brutally aware. People are brutally aware now that when that fighting game comes out, you're playing like the most expensive and content deprived version of that game. And now people just fucking wait, right? People just like, I'm just waiting for the ultimate version. I'm just waiting for the definitive version. I really like this game. I think it looks great, but I'm just gonna fucking wait till it's like way cheaper and has way more stuff. Because that happens with everything. I have to tell people, no, please don't do that. Because if you do that, you're never going to continue playing online, because the only people that are going to be left are people that are like super hardcore, and you'll very likely not get many new people that are like you. There will be some, but there won't be a ton. You have to wait for the 75% off, right? You know, it's a big problem because people are aware, because guess what? Every fighting game does it. Every single fighting game does it. The people just get it now. Yeah, and then they post like, how the hell am I ever supposed to be good at this game, right? How the hell am I expected to keep up and play with these other players when those players have been playing for like 2 fucking years? Of course they are. You're not going to drop into, right? You're not going to drop into like any other big competitive game that costs money and just immediately throw down with the people that are the best in the world. But here's the difference. In all those other games where it's like, you know, you're just going to jump in and throw down with people that are either good or bad, those games are free and are constantly populating new players into its early matchmaking to make sure the fact that you don't run into those people. If there's constantly new people showing up and repopulating the matchmaking because the game is free, you know, there's like no entry. Once again, like crossplay, rollback netcode, free to play all complement each other to allow for an online experience that is sort of echoing what Multiversus is going through right now. All these things are working together to help out, to allow for this shit to happen. Smurf City? Absolutely. There will absolutely be Smurf City. But there's so many people. Like, you realize how big 10,000 players is. You realize the chance of like, even if 10,000 people are in matchmaking, and let's say even like 100 of them are smurfing. Like, and even, let's say even half of those, 5,000 are actually new players. Like, if you have a 1v1 fighting game, or even just 2v2, there's still an astronomical amount of fucking chances that you're gonna run into somebody else that is also new. And like, unfortunately, it's like smurfing and shit like that is like, it's something that is gonna be almost impossible to get rid of. Just people just delete their account and start over just because they want to win, you know? It's really like almost an unsolvable situation. Yeah, well, I mean, like, yeah, you smurf every single time you play a game that you've played on a new console or something like that. But I mean, very quickly, you get out of those early ranks, you know? Like in a fighting game, like extremely fast, you get out of that bronze, silver, whatever level. You get out of there fucking quick, man. Should DNF have been free to play? Well, I mean, here's a very level-headed take, chat. What is DNF based on? It's based on a worldwide online multiplayer RPG game that has been around for a very long time and is what? It's based on a game that is already free to play. Its audience has already been adapted to the fact that their game is free to play. It's like an arcade-style Diablo-ish MMO. And then suddenly you release a premium, right? A better looking, because I mean, I think that's what they were thinking. I could see what the devs were thinking, right? I can put myself in their shoes and be like, yeah, we're releasing this absolutely gorgeous, better looking, as good as our, like, you know, cinematics and stuff like that, but in full gameplay, our whole game looks like a cinematic anime now. Right? It looks so fucking good. People are going to want to pay for that. Yeah, I get it. But are people going to stick around? You know, there's a lot of things, dude. It needs a monetization model. If it should be free to play, which could cost even more to make, it could. Yeah, it could. That free to play stuff has to be considered from the very start. From the very beginning of the game's conceptualization, it's not just something you tack on later on. It's not just something you throw in at some point. No. It needs to be considered from the start. Multiverses started its entire development knowing that people were going to spend $0 fucking to play our game. And it seems to be, obviously, that Project L is in the same fashion. People are going to spend no money for our game to play it. So at a very early conceptualization, they can start moving forward with like, okay, this dev team is going to be handling like stuff that we're going to be adding on extra to the gameplay, right? The whole experience needs to be based on the fact that our players are going to be playing this for free. And here's the thing, like, it doesn't even mean that things that are available in premium games are not going to be there. Like, I would not be surprised that later on, Multiverses is going to get a whole bunch of characters and shit, and their team is going to get bigger and yada, yada, yada. But I think they're actually going to add, like, even story stuff. And it'll probably be fucking free. I could even see Project L, no shit, at some point later on, adding a ton of characters and story stuff. And the story stuff won't cost you any fucking money. Fighting games just have an issue keeping player retention, right? It's just the way it is. It's a genre that's already insanely niche and has been insanely niche for a very long time. But we're still designing fighting games like they're Street Fighter 4, right? Fighting games are still debuting, and this is still DNF included, right? Fighting games are still debuting the same exact way that Street Fighter 4 did in 2009. It's the same shit. Player match, ranked match, some characters, some arcade mode thing. See you later.